Good morning. The October 16th, 2023 work session of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners will come to order. We welcome you. County Clerk, please take the roll for the record.
Yes, sir. District 1 Commissioner Ricky Dobbs.
Present.
District 2 Commissioner Kelly Robinson.
Madam Clerk, present.
Vice Chair District 3 Commissioner Tarenia Carthen.
Present.
District 4 Commissioner Mark Alcaraz.
Present.
Chairman Phil Miller.
I'm here. Thank you. Commissioners, are there any changes that need to be made to the agenda?
No.
Being none, the agenda stands as approved as presented. As a reminder, each commissioner will have 3 minutes to make remarks with a 2-minute rebuttal. Clerk, do we have any public comment today?
Yes, sir, we did.
Okay.
Before I call people up, I just want to remind you, you'll have 3 minutes to address the board. Once you have reached your 3 minutes, we will ask you to wrap up your comments. And when you reach the mic, please adjust it and speak directly into it, and restate your name and your subject matter. So the first persons that signed in was Kelly Talbot.
Good morning.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners. My name is Kelly Talbot again, and my address is 5048 Lisa Court in Douglasville. I'm speaking this morning to sincerely thank you for some recent decisions you've made. Providing law enforcement with the well-deserved raises was absolutely the right thing to do. Additionally, denying approval to a recent request for another large set of apartments was essential. These actions support the constituents' hopes to preserve the quality of life we enjoy in Douglas County. I truly hope the board will continue to evaluate all requests with due consideration to reducing unnecessary costs in development, preservation of green space, and spending reductions where possible. Again, thank you for listening to our concerns and being good stewards of all that you have been entrusted. Thank you again.
Oh, gosh, thank you.
Thank you. We had another individual, Cassandra Burks. Okay, I don't believe she's here, so we don't have any other citizen comment. There's no other comment, Chairman.
Okay, we have a presentation of our 2016 spliced update. If Mr. David Good would come forward. Morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you again, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, Board of Commissioners, leadership, and citizens. My name is David Good, and I'm just, there it goes. I'm bringing you detailed information about the 2016 SPLOS, which of course ended back in April, in the very beginning of April, March 31st. These are going to be projects we're going to discuss. Fire EMS, which represents 32% of the SPLOS. Parks and Rec, which represents 17%, and then transportation, the remaining 51%. Right now, we do have our revenues, which the Douglas County total revenue has not changed since April. That's up almost $122 million. We actually had an amount expended back in September, because everything I will give you is going to be based on numbers in September, as well as projects that's been completed through the 30th of September. The amount expensed is $3.2 million. The amount invoiced to date to the 30th of September was $90.26 million. The remaining SPLOS is $31.68 million, and we've had 107 total projects. 83 of those have been completed, and 24 are active now. Of those 24 active projects, we have certain projects that have had substantial information added to it. First is the burn tower at the training complex. FTS continues to fabricate the tower. There is the existing tower that's there now that must be demoed, and then the groundwork must be set up for the new tower. So we've received the demo and foundation work. The bid needs to be evaluated by purchasing and then approved by the Board of Commissioners. Next, we have Stewart Mill Road at Reynolds Road. That project is substantially completed. Right now, that cost was at about $2.1 million. Corbett has completed 98% of the improvements, and it should be 100% done within this fall. Next up is Chapel Hill widening. That's one of the projects that we're just doing the design work within this SPLOS, and then other funds we have to take care of it moving forward. The right-of-way plans are nearing completion, and the right-of-way phase will continue through 2024. Next up, we have the right turn lane coming off of Highway 5, which going north on Highway 5, turn east going towards the mall on Douglas, excuse me, on Douglas Boulevard. That budget is going to be supplemented as well by the city of Douglasville. I believe they are taking care of about a quarter of it, about $600,000. We're in the right-of-ways phase of that, and construction will be let the first quarter of this year. And finally, we have Clinton Nature Preserve. That's the dog part over at Clinton Nature. The project is about 90% complete. What's left is going to be the planting of the trees. And the estimated completion date is also this fall. And then next we're going into, this thing did not move with me, sorry. We actually also have the total vendors, and we give this report every other month. We have 177 total vendors that worked on those 107 projects. 65 of those are right here in Douglas County. 57 are right in the surrounding area. Another 27 is right outside of that, and the remaining 28 are within other states. Right now we're looking at about 69% vendors are right here locally. So of all the projects, local vendors take care of 69%, which represents those businesses right here in Douglas County, as well as those businesses right outside of Douglas County within 30 miles. Of those 69%, we represent about 61% of the SPLOS proceeds. That means that those companies that are right here in this area, they receive 61% of the expenditures that we've used. And then finally, excuse me, we have the DBEs as well as minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses. There are about 20, those 24 projects. We've been rating steady around 81% of those companies being DBE or minority. And with that, I'll take any questions or comments. Terry Gable is here to help answer any questions from Atlas as well as leadership. Thank you.
Questions? Commissioner Robinson?
Good morning.
Good morning.
All right. Good morning, gentlemen. All right, real quick, couple questions for you. So appreciate I always appreciated over the past 6 years since lost what Atlas and his team has done is demonstrate to the public transparency. Every month, for the past 6 years, the public knows where their 1% went. And all that he just said, somebody saw something in those words and said, okay, that's relevant to us. Well done. All about transparency. Think about it. We taxed them $132 million. Where did the money go? Every month, we've demonstrated the value of this 15-minute pitch. It's about accountability. And we appreciate you guys because this is stuff that matters. I mean, they appreciate internal stuff, but public, okay, but can I get some street lights? Can I get some bike lanes? Get a fire station? The stuff that's relevant to the public. And that's so key. So I appreciate what you guys are doing. Appreciate you. I'll miss all this, but it's all good. All right, my question to you is, all right, let's talk about, since we're talking about verticals, community centers, senior centers, check. What's up with fire station? What's up with the fire station?
Are you referencing fire station number 9, sir?
Number 9, please. Where we at?
Yes. Well, we're not. Last week we actually had bids to come in, and if Latanya Amons here is the director of purchasing, if she's here, she would like to speak on that. She's coming up. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
She coming?
Morning.
Good morning, Chair, Vice Chair, Board of Commissioners. Last week, the evaluation committee evaluated the bids that were submitted for fire station number 9. And it was determined that we would not award for fire station number 9, and we will rebid, and that bid should go out today, tomorrow at the latest.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. Say that again.
Yes,
What
we
happened?
had 2 companies to submit a
Yes, ma'am.
solicitation. The procurement evaluation committee met,
Yeah.
And so as far as details, the first vendor did not have all of the documents that were required. And so we looked at the second vendor, and that vendor did not have favorable references. And we also thought, and not necessarily felt, but determined that it wasn't enough competition just to move with just one other vendor.
Okay. So, duly noted. So where do we advertise? I mean, this is a fire station. There should be qualified people out there. This is good money. It's not you personally, but I mean, what do you think happened?
So to begin with, the bid was posted on BidNet, and it was also posted on the Georgia State Procurement Registry. And so both of those sites reach out to vendors who have registered under a specific NIGP code. And those codes are when a business is determined that this is what I do. And so I typically use many NIGP codes to cast a broad net. We also had a site visit or a mandatory pre-bid meeting, and we had a good turnout. We just did not have the vendors to solicit. And so this go-round, I'm still going to post legally, and we also posted in the Douglas County Sentinel as required by law. So I'm going to follow that same path, but I'm also going to reach out to other construction companies, those that have done business with us in the past, and those that have actually done business around the state. And so I'm going to send out just an invite letter to let them know that we have posted the solicitation.
Yes, sir. Please, I'll yield the floor to you back. Yes.
I had a company call me, and I guess they were the vendor that didn't have everything in their packet. They sent me an email showing me it was minus the bond. Is that correct?
That is correct. So for this construction contract, they did not upload the bid bond.
He sent me a email showing that he had the bond was received by him August the 23rd. Is that correct?
I did not see the bond, so I'm not sure.
Well, I'm not out there. I'm just taking his word for it. And he says that he sent it in, and he says that the emails show that he sent it in. But what she's saying is that the computer software that you use, or the computer company that you use, they didn't show it being uploaded. Is that correct?
That is correct, Chairman.
Okay, so there's a discrepancy there, and those people are adamant, and their emails to them are the proof that they sent that bond in. But now, I'm not saying they did or they didn't, but if they bought it August the 23rd, or paid for it on August the 3rd, either they made a mistake or the computer people made a mistake, and they say that the computer people. I just wanted everybody to be aware of it. I don't want us to do anything in violation of the law. I want us to be appropriate in everything that we do, and if we need to rebid it, that's fine. Just wanted the commissioners to know what I knew.
Thank you. Back. All right. So to that point, yeah, duly noted. Now don't touch that. I don't even want to know beyond that. Okay. That you don't even need to know. You're kicking it back out. It didn't comply. Keep it moving. Don't keep this real. You don't send me no emails. Don't solicit me. This would happen. You made the call. Kick it out. You got to do it right. We talk about paperwork, right? You got to turn it in on time. Keep it moving. So now I'm going to let that go. I'm more responsive, but nobody responded. I'm back to this BidNet and this state thing, and I'm just for the future. They ain't got nothing to do with me. Make this note. Y'all got, it's like posting on CelebrateDouglasCounty.com. The same people hit the same site and the same thing. And we're thinking we're hitting the universe, and we're just right here in our little solar system. You've got to expand, really get attention. I appreciate the fact that you're going to solicit directly. Great. I know y'all are busy. But guys, it's like the same old swamp, same old fishing pond, same old. There's plenty of good qualified people that are out there that can partner to do this. This is a very nice project. Only 2 people? So how are we writing our RFQs? I'm sure it's been it's written well. It's like something like, okay, this is something, we'll come back to that. All right, got to keep moving on. Thank you for that. Thank you, Director. You're fine. My last question is that, okay, so, yep, I got time back, Lisa. I gave up some time. David, my question becomes, what happens with, you've got the fire station, you guys are going to work on that. I'm going to let that go. I'm going to keep moving. What about, is there any outstanding park money? Anything going on in Parks and Rec, or did we spend all that?
I could bring up the director for finance if we have anything left in there, but to my knowledge, there's not any that's left within parks. If there is, it might be like 1,000. Terry, do you have any idea?
There was some things, and the only reason I bring up, there was some phase 2 things like splash ponds and some things that was on the list that we just couldn't get to, and it's okay. I'm just asking, well, where's those remaining projects? Did they roll over to the new list? And what money was left over in the existing list? That's all I'm asking. Now I got to yield the floor.
Yes, so, Commissioner, where we're at right now is trying to finish up these last 2 projects that Gary has, the playground equipment and the dog park.
Yes.
And once we get those finished, I think he will have some funds left over, but it's going to be a small amount of money that he's got some projects identified, like low-hanging fruit projects that are small, that I'm hoping we're going to be able to pick those up. But anything, the project you mentioned would have to move on to the next SPLOST. There's not enough funds remaining in Gary's pot to.
That's fine. So you said, I mean, I'm okay with quick wins. So you got a dog park. Where's it going?
Clinton.
All right, Clinton, no problem. And then where is the playground equipment going? Is it going to be
So
spread?
it was at 4 parks. It
Yep.
was Bill Art, Deer Lick, Fair Play, and Woodrow.
Good enough. Thank you for that. I got to yield. Thank you, Mr. Chair, sir.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Next on the agenda is the meeting minutes. Commissioners, please review the minutes before tomorrow's meeting. Our financial report for September will be presented to the Finance Committee later today. Please prepare to accept the report during tomorrow's commission meeting. We have a few proclamations today. We have 3 proclamations, to be presented tomorrow. Proclamation October 17th, 2023 as Founders Day, celebrating the 153rd anniversary of Douglas County. Proclamation October 23rd as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And proclamation November 2023 as Women in Crisis Awareness Month. County Commissioner, do you have any business to come before the board?
No, sir.
Do you have any comments that you'd like to make? The reason I'm asking you that is about the proclamations as far as the women are concerned. Okay, all right. She's doing a great job defending the rights of our women and the less fortunate. Okay, we'll begin with the agenda items. Clerk, please begin with the first agenda item.
Yes, sir. We have grants. Number 8, authorization to accept the 2023 BJA fiscal year 22 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. Local solicitation from the Office of Justice Programs in the amount of $20,755 with no match required, and authorization for the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Jamie.
Good morning, Commissioners. The JAG grant is a grant that we've received for several years now. It is pretty much our sole source of funding for our Douglas County LINK program. LINK's a program that works with non-court involved youth who have extreme emotional disturbances, where we provide case management and case oversight.
Any questions, comments? Vice Chair?
I see it now. Thank you. So
Okay.
no match required, and this will go into this fiscal year's 2023.
It's for the 2024 funding, it'll officially
hit.
be October 1st, even though we're past October 1st,
Okay, so October 1st till October 1st of next year?
till September 30th,
Till
yes.
September 30th?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. I yield.
Anyone else? Clerk?
Okay. Number 9, authorization to accept the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council fiscal year 24 Delinquency Prevention Program grant in the amount of $39,590 with no match required, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Jamie?
Yes, and this grant is for our low-risk diversion program. We've been receiving this funding for about 4 years. It goes to fund evidence-based programs called Strengthening Families for our low-risk youth.
Comments, questions? All right, thank you. Next, clerk.
Thank you. Number 10 is authorization for Douglas County Sheriff's Office to accept a grant award from DOJ, Bureau of Justice Assistance FY23 for the body-worn camera policy implementation program to support law enforcement agencies in the amount of $194,000 with a 50% match of $97,000, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Ken Cotter.
Good morning, Kenneth Connor, Chief Deputy, Douglas County Sheriff's Office, for the people at home. So we're bringing this before the board to accept the award for the grant that we were given. There was an issue that we have learned of from when it was presented. So when this was submitted by our grant writer to the assistant who puts it on the calendar, the wording was that the Douglas County would cover the 50% match. Well, our assistant that puts it on the agenda took that to mean that it comes from the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. So on March the 20th in the work session, Susan Shahada, our grant writer, presented it. In the minutes, it specifically noted that she says the sheriff doesn't have the funds for the match. So there was some discussion about this, and then it was put on the consent agenda as it coming from the sheriff's office budget, and it was approved. We've received the grant. It's up to be taken. There was only 2 counties in the entire state of Georgia that received it, us and Fulton County. So now we're at a point where to accept the award, but there was a little confusion in how it was presented and how it came to this point. So I've discussed it with the county administrator, and I'm open. I know we do have SPLOST funds. I don't know that they will cover it. If it's acceptable use, I don't have a total number of what we're expected to receive from the SPLOST funds at this point, so I can't say, yeah, we'll have enough money. I mean, obviously, we can subtract a vehicle or cut in some other place to pay for this, but I want the board to also keep in mind that we're also absorbing the cost of some of the courthouse security upgrades that historically has been done by the courthouse budget, not out of the sheriff's budget. So that's where we're at, and
Okay.
open how y'all want to handle it, if y'all want to accept it. Or
Comments, questions? Vice Chair Parsons?
Okay, so I'm trying to follow you. So the entire grant is for $194,000.
correct.
$97,000 of it they give you, and then the other $97,000 Douglas County has to give in order to complete the full 194. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you've already received the $97,000 from them. We have the check.
No, we've been granted the award. This
Okay.
is actually on the agenda to accept it.
To accept
and
it.
move forward.
And to move forward. So the only discrepancy is where the $97,000 will come from, whether it will come from your budget or our budget.
That's correct.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the initial thought was that it would come from the general fund of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners and not the sheriff's office.
That was the intention when we put this on the agenda. However, like I said, the way it was written was misunderstood by the person in our office that actually puts it on the agenda. And it was labeled to come from Douglas County, and they just assumed it was Douglas
The
County
sheriff.
Sheriff's Office and not the Board of Commissioners. So it got put on the agenda as coming from our budget. However, in the actual work session, the minutes reflect, and I watched it and saw that Susan presented it and said that we don't have the money. But yet it went on to the consent agenda as listed, and
Got you.
Chief-
County Administrator? And looking at this, and since there was a discrepancy, how should we handle this 97,000? Do we have it in the general fund, so I'm assuming that's where we would have to take it from.
I think the question, I think the Vice Chair, question, approved to come out of their budget. I would ask, not have the department. I think there's still money in the budget already. I'd like to ask that our SPLOST fund rather clear.
Okay. So with that being said, and Sheriff Pounds every year gives back money. Every single year that I've been in office, he always gives back a little bit, right? So he does manage to have a little bit over in his budget. So let's see how we can work this, even if we have to split it or we take it out of the SPLOST funds. But I know you guys have already assigned most of your SPLOST funds for cars and other things that you need to get done. I don't see this $97,000 as a make or break. Right, we need it, so we'll make sure that we get it. But let's see how we can best work together to get you what you need.
I'm definitely open to having discussions about our budget. As I presented in our Constitutional Officer Retreat, our food cost is up,
Yeah,
and our fuel cost went up,
Yeah.
and also, we've hired a lot of people here recently. We're
Okay.
down to about 45 positions
open.
from 62.
Uh-huh.
So the excess that we had in our our
You
line
that you
item
usually
for
had.
employees
Uh-huh.
is going to be eaten up.
Okay, got you.
I don't see that there'll be that there. Plus, we've already fronted the 25 cameras for the SPLOST money. Haven't received that back, and then there was an $86,000 purchase at the end of last year that we didn't get the goods till this year, but it come out of this year's budget,
Got
and it
you.
hasn't been put back yet. So there's several things that amount to
Well,
the
So I think then what County Administrator Corbin is saying and what you were saying, it is best for the Finance Department and you all to get together so that you can handle some of those outstanding items that you just brought to our attention as well.
Sure.
So, but we'll get it taken care of. With that, Chairman, are
yeah,
you?
we'll make it happen. Is there a time limit? I mean, if we table this, is that going to slow you down your process? But I don't think we're going to table it. I think we're just going to give you and finance an opportunity to get together, and let's figure out a way to do it. But it's going to be done, okay?
Yeah, it's a 3-year grant. So
3-year grant?
It's a 3-year grant, so
Okay.
that covers the cloud storage and everything.
Is this for new cameras?
It's for 97 more cameras. Currently, we're 60 short, and when we
Okay.
fill the positions, we'll need the remaining 29 to make sure everybody has them.
Okay, all right. Anyone else? All right. Okay, Commissioner Kelly?
No, I appreciate the dialogue. Like, listen, back to public safety. What is our priority? You know, it's like, it's not a debate, in my opinion, that we will or will not do this. This doesn't need to be tabled. The community is clear on what our priority should be. Right? So we need to equip. We want to get the truth. We want transparency. So this is not about the idea of what's the ask is. I thought we were trying to be more efficient, be more accurate on our appropriations about where our priorities are. Right, let's get at this. We got to equip. We got to provide them the tools they need to do their job well. And so sometimes, like, okay, now why are we going around on this? And sometimes we have conversations, and I have to disconnect. Like, wait, I can't get into that. Y'all got too much money sitting over there in public safety. Not you personally, but in the various buckets we got, fund balance, plus, like, okay, guys. All right, so there was some inaccuracy. Clean it up. Communicate. I'm back to communication. I'm watching this round and round and round, but it's like you're not advancing the government. I get checkpoints. I get controls. Get something done. We spend more time talking about stuff than getting stuff done. And I get it, but it's like, okay, this y'all killing me. This ain't that difficult. Make an executive decision and move on. It does not take the commissioners to do something I think is administrative. My point. That point. But okay, I'm gonna let y'all handle this. I'm sure y'all handle it by tomorrow. I just want to give my opinion, my vote, you know, my voice for District 2. Mr. Chair, I yield. Y'all will work it out.
Anyone else? Mr. Coleman?
Mr. Chairman, I wanted to point out for the record that there's a question we need to review as to whether or not BOC funds could be used for purchase. I think that's a real legal question.
Well, you just be part of the meeting that's about to happen and let us know how you feel about it, and we can go from there, sir.
Fair enough.
All right. Anyone else? Next.
Number 11, authorization to accept the Georgia Trauma Commission FY 2023 grant award in the amount of $8,943.76 with no match required, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Fire Chief Allen.
Chief?
Good morning, Commissioner, Vice Chair, Board. This grant allows us the opportunity to purchase a well-needed trauma equipment for each ambulance that we have in the department. And to reiterate, there is no match.
Any comments, questions? Well, if there's no match, you got a deal, okay?
I do have a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Vice Chair.
Just for my own knowledge, what is the Georgia Trauma Commission grant? What will this cover? And who is this young lady standing beside you?
This is Paige McGirt. She's one of our employees in the administrative.
Okay. Hi, Paige.
Morning.
Good
The
morning.
Georgia Trauma Commission's been around for a couple of years, and basically they have different regions in the state of Georgia that are responsible for ensuring adequate trauma care. So when you see like Grady is a level 1 trauma center, Caba's a level 3, they're the ones that go in and accredit those hospitals and also make sure that we have the equipment to provide trauma care. So they try to do a whole network within each region. So it's a pretty good deal. This is the second round of money that we've been able to get from grant funding this year, so it's pretty good stuff.
Okay. Thank you for that. I yield, Chairman.
Anyone else? Next.
Thank you.
Q. Under business items, number 12, approval to amend the resolution and MOU for Project Hammer to correct the name for Project Hammer legal entity from PDC Atlanta LIPV LLC to PDC Atlanta Hammer Inc., and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Mr. Coleman.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is a simple change to parties to the Project Hammer transaction that we recently approved It doesn't change the substance of the deal. But Joe Fowler, who represents the Development Authority, is here to give us a little bit more detail. Joe?
Not much additional detail, Mr. Chairman. All the documents were signed. We were getting ready to close. Panatone is actually building the structure, and the title to the property was going to be held in an entity that they created known as PDC Atlanta LP4 LLC, when in fact the name is going to be PDC Atlanta Hammer Inc. This is actually a housekeeping matter only, but because you'd previously signed the memorandum of agreement, we're asking the county to approve that slight adjustment in the name so we can close. That's it.
Questions? Don't think we have an issue. All right.
Thank you.
Next.
Number 13, approval of an intergovernmental agreement designating Chapel Hill High School as a new polling place and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Milton Kidd.
Morning.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and to the Commission. My Deputy Elections Director, Ms. Tisha Green, will be presenting the first part.
Good morning, Commissioners. We were notified by one of our precincts on this year, Church of Chapel Hill, also known as Chapel Hill Church, that they would not like to be a precinct in 2024. We were notified in early enough for us to start finding other locations. We scoured the area and we kind of looked for something that would not have a big impact on the voters. So we found Chapel Hill High School is where we will be moving that precinct to. So we'll be moving from Church of Chapel Hill to Chapel Hill High.
To offer just a few more clarifying information too, like my deputy acknowledged, we did do an extensive search to find locations within the precinct boundary lines to move this location that was not a school. We were unable to do so. So in conversations with the Douglas County School Board, they did ask me to come back to this board, not necessarily tied to this current move, but just going forward as the county begins to grow, that the county begins to look at a comprehensive plan as it relates to elections and voter registration. By that I mean they would like the county to look at the options of, as it constructs facilities, to add a piece of those new facilities that can either replace a current precinct or be a future precinct for future elections. Their main hesitancy is just the safety of children and having the ability to come out of schools as precinct locations. This is not a conversation that they're asking us to have at this particular time, but just to put onto the radar of the county as it begins to formulate comprehensive plans. The Board of Elections does agree with this statement of establishing a comprehensive plan as it relates to elections and voter registration, looking at the distribution of polling locations throughout the county in conjunction with new facilities that the county intends to bring online.
Question? Vice Chair?
Thank you. First of all, thank you to Trent North and Tracy Rickettshaw and the entire school board for allowing this to take place. Yes, Church of Chapel Hill, which is in my district, is a very high traffic polling location. So to lose them, you know, we're sad, but we thank the school system for allowing us to use Chapel Hill High School in the interim. And duly noted, I take what they said, and they're absolutely right. When we're planning and building and bringing on new buildings and new sites and new facilities in the county, we should have in our mind, how can these buildings be used in duality, right? Not just for one purpose, but for multiple purposes, because they are public entities and they're being paid for by the public sector, by the constituents here. And so to that point, I will talk with my county administrator and let's see how we can come up with a better plan as we're bringing on new facilities within the county. Thank you so much, and with that, I yield.
Anyone else? Sure. Commissioner Alcaraz.
Just so that our public knows for transparency, so when this change goes into place, how will all those in that voting district, how will you notify them?
Because this change does not affect the current election season, we plan on sending new precinct cards that will indicate the precinct change to all affected voters. Most likely in the month of December. I'm hesitant to give an exact date because we're under a current November 7th election date that is a municipal election, as well as a possible December 6th runoff date associated with the current date. I would not want to send any notifications until the conclusion of both elections, just to keep the confusion down. But by the end of December, all affected voters will have a new precinct card indicating that polling change. We will also be placing digital signboards in those districts in next year's election cycle stating the change. The election code also requires us to place signage at old locations as well as new locations for a number of elections in the 2024 election season, to which we will comply, as well as running legal ads and notifications on our website of polling locations as well.
Okay, thank you for that. I yield back, Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? Vice Chair?
And just because we have you here, when does early voting begin and when are the election days?
Early voting for the November 7th municipal election, that's for the municipalities of Douglasville as well as the municipality of Villa Rica, begins today. It is going on from 8:30 to 5:30 Monday through Friday, as well as 2 Saturdays, the 21st and 28th, from 9 to 5 here at the Douglas County Courthouse for both municipalities. If you miss early voting, which is a 3-week time frame, then you will be going to your election day precinct. Your election day precinct can be found if you do not have your card by going to My Voter page, Georgia My Voter page, and putting in your first initial, your last name, the county in which you live, and it will tell you your election day polling location and date of birth. Anyone out of those 2 municipalities can come here and early vote. If you wait until election day, you will go to your assigned precinct.
Thank you so much. I yield.
All right. Anything else? Next. Thank you, sir.
Number 14, consideration of the developer's appeal of Planning and Zoning Administrative's denial of the certificate of preliminary plat for Post Oak Downs subdivision. Ms. Allison Duncan.
All right. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Board of Commissioners. We have an interesting presentation for you here, something that I actually haven't brought before previously, so bear with us as we get this pulled up. And all right, what we have for you today is a preliminary plat. This is for a subdivision on Post Road in District 4. This was also in your packet, if it's easier for you to see it on the screen in front of you than on the wall. Normally we would bring to you preliminary plats with the recommendation to approve with conditions, or to deny. Typically, the Development Review Committee works through all of the details of the technical administration of the plats, and by the time they get to you, we are usually recommending approval. In this instance, we are recommending denial of this plat. There are several reasons that this plat doesn't comply with the Unified Development Code. We have indicated that in the background summary of your packet, and I also have slides, and I'm happy to walk through that here today. A number of the reasons primarily involve issues relating to the Department of Transportation. So Director Rana is available, and he can address some of those concerns to you as well. But generally speaking, what we are recommending is that this plat should be denied based on non-compliance with the Unified Development Code. And I'm happy to walk through my slides if you need additional information on this, or take any questions that you may have. You will be voting on this tomorrow, but the applicant is here to speak to you today and specifically make his appeal. In accordance with Article 12 and Article 13 of the Unified Development Code, he does have a right to appeal our decision about any improvements in the right-of-way directly to the Board of Commissioners. So I'm happy to present him here for you to hear his appeal, or I'm happy to give you any background information that you need on the specific staff concerns about this.
Okay. What are the appeals?
so let me click through here. Generally speaking, the applicant would like to appeal to you today in regard to a waiver of the requirements for standards associated with curb and gutter, additional right-of-way, road widening, sidewalks, as well as driveway access to a county road. We have some specific code sections outlined here of the Unified Development Code. Again, these are primarily design criteria associated with the road frontage that is going to be required for a parcel and the requirements for cutting in a new road for a major subdivision, along with things like installing sidewalks, curb and gutter, and how much right-of-way is actually going to be required. So I have that in a lot of detail here on these two slides. And again, the staff is recommending denial of this plat. However, if you're inclined to recommend approval with conditions, these are the conditions that we would put forward to you here if you were inclined to have the applicant come into compliance with certain provisions of the code. It may be more appropriate to defer this until after you have heard his specific appeal. And again, as a reminder, this is just for information. At the work session, you will actually be voting on this at your regular meeting tomorrow. And again, Director Rana is here if you have any specific questions about the transportation requirements.
Okay. Any comments, questions? Commissioner Robinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Real quick, all right, so more of a point of order. Why didn't this planning and zoning, and why directly to the Board of Commissioners? I'm going to make a point. I know where I'm going with this. But answer that question.
Okay, so under Article 12 and Article 13 of our code, any appeal that directly involves the public right-of-way comes directly to the Board of Commissioners. Typically, any relief for variance or appeal would go to the Planning and Zoning Board, but because the principal concerns, and I'll back up here to this slide, because the principal concerns deal with improvements to the public right-of-way and the Board of Commissioners are the stewards of the public right-of-way, these come directly to y'all to be heard.
So it would not necessarily have to come before our next planning and zoning meet, our joint P&Z and Board of Commissioners, which actually are two separate meetings happening at the same time, because our meeting is during recess coming later that night, right? So it wouldn't have to go through that process. I'm just trying to clarify so we're all on the same page.
That is correct. We did review this with our legal department to make sure that they concurred with our methodology. Again, this is not something we would typically bring to you. Typically, we are able to work out the design criteria of a plat before it comes to you. But in this instance, as we reviewed the code, it's very clear that any appeal of the administrative decision of staff first goes to the Director of Development Services, that's Director Worthington. He has upheld the staff recommendation on this to deny this plat. And then after that, the next appeal comes directly to the Board of Commissioners because it involves the public right-of-way.
All right, my last and final question is that, okay, so I'm trying to follow this because if the applicant is here, but usually we're making a decision, so I'm gonna wait until it's time for me personally to ask. You gotta be here tomorrow when we make a decision so I can ask in that moment. Because where are we going with this? We open this up right now. Is this a hearing? I mean, it's just, what is this? Because we've never done this before. So this
Correct.
is even for me, y'all. I'm like, okay, now how you gonna do this?
Correct.
So I'm just curious. So let me think about it. I ain't got no further questions. I'm gonna defer till tomorrow because again, if I make a decision on this, I need to think about it.
Correct.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, it is not a hearing. This is not a zoning decision. It's an administrative approval, and they are appealing our decision directly to you as administrative approval. And we did confer with the legal department and with the county administrator as to the work session being the correct time for the applicant to state his appeal to you so that when it is time to vote on this at your regular meeting tomorrow, you would have all of the information at that time.
What will be the difference in a planning and zoning meeting? They got to come to the decision meeting.
So I'd say the key difference is that this is not zoning, right? Zoning is very clearly governed by the zoning procedures law, and that is where the requirement for hearing comes through. Preliminary plats, as they stand right now under our code, are administrative approvals. So long as you meet the design criteria in our code, that is something that we approve administratively once the Board of Commissioners has signed off on their approval with the plat. What is different in this one is that right now the staff cannot present this to you with a recommendation to approve because it is not compatible with the Unified Development Code. And so under our code, and I'd be happy to get into the chapter and verse of this, but under the code, Once the staff review, the development review committee has taken place, we have to bring the preliminary plat to the Board of Commissioners with a recommendation to approve with conditions, or deny. And so that's where we are today.
That's good. How many houses? How big is this subdivision?
This is approximately 12 units, and the primary concern here is that they are not developing according to our standards of a major subdivision. So they are trying to utilize the existing right-of-way of Post Road rather than constructing a new road into the subdivision. And in trying to use the right-of-way of Post Road, they have further indicated, and again, I welcome the applicant to correct anything I say that is incorrect, but they've indicated that they have no intention of doing curb and gutter, sidewalks, giving up the additional right-of-way, or making the road widening improvements that would be typical. They essentially want to bring this in and to have it approved as an exempt subdivision, which is typically a minor administrative exemption, does not require any of those additional improvements. They'd like to make the case to you that they think they should be allowed to approve this as an exempt subdivision under those handful of subdivision exemptions. Therefore, they would not be required to make the improvements typical of a major subdivision. And staff has indicated that we do not agree with their interpretation of the code, and we are recommending denial.
Got it. I'm going to yield to home rule. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Chair.
So, Director Duncan, can you tell me how big is this subdivision supposed to be with the 12 houses?
So the total acreage of the project, I believe, is about 25 acres, and they're proposing lots that vary in size from, I think, 1 acre all the way up to 5 acres. There's some larger lots in the back that you'll see are completely landlocked, do not contain road frontage. So they're trying to use an easement to get to Post Road, a private easement for basically a driveway on Post Road that would be shared by some of those rear lots. But again, the applicant can clarify his specific ask, but I believe it's about 25 acres, and they're trying to do about 12 lots, all using that existing road frontage of Post Road with a combination of individual and shared driveways.
Thank you so much. I would ask the applicant to please come forward at this time.
Yep.
A couple of questions. Mr. Fowler.
Again, everybody.
Good morning.
I'm here with Jeff Camp. Jeff got this property from his grandfather a long time ago. It's a total of about 50 acres. This is phase one of what he's trying to do with family members and others who are interested in living south of Douglas County in the country. It is south of 166. We first met on this in February of this year. We met with the whole development team and talked about what options are, about what would and would not be available in the event Jeff decided to move forward with the subdivision. All that sort of percolated in the coffee maker for several months, and we met again on July the 14th. And the county had indicated that Jeff would need to install curb and guttering, 5-foot sidewalks on the development side of Post Road. And what he's looking for is some relief from that. And working with Allison, which is always a pleasure, except when she says no. But she just quoted the regulations, and what she said, it is under the regulations, you got to put in curb and guttering and sidewalk, and we talked to Suleiman, and he echoed the same thing. I mentioned in a meeting a couple of weeks ago about the sidewalks that really don't go to anywhere with respect to that project on North County Line Road, and this really is a sidewalk and curb and guttering that would go to nowhere. So Allison and I talked about that. In fact, we all did as a team. And there is a unique provision that she's been explaining under the code that says that if the Board of Commissioners believes it's appropriate under limited, narrow circumstances, you can make a decision to accept or allow this subdivision not to have to install the curb and guttering and sidewalks. It's in the code. It's totally up to your discretion. And Jeff will explain to you why he's asking for that in this case.
Morning, Commissioners. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. This property has been...
Point of order, can you state your name for us?
Jeff Camp, 8720 Rose Avenue, Douglasville.
Thank you.
This property has been in my family for right at 100 years, if not maybe more. So we paid taxes on this property for a long time, and I feel like we've paid enough taxes on this property to put sidewalks from one end of Post Road to the other. So that's one of my issues that I have there, and what Joe had mentioned about the the curb and gutter and sidewalk going to nowhere. I mean, and we're trying to keep a rural feel. So in lieu of that, on our preliminary plat, we've offered to sod the ditch line, put in 3 driveways, common drives that would serve all of these homes, and then we would have dedicated easements that would be drawn up by Joe's office that would be driveway agreements that would have to be signed whenever these homeowners move in, that there would be a maintenance agreement on these drives. So we're trying to eliminate the number of drives coming out on Post Road. One, just because of the drives coming out, but also aesthetics to try to keep that rural feel of the area. And something I didn't mention is we're also going to put in like a 3 or 4 board fence along there because we want to just keep that country rural feel down there.
So,
Do you have any questions?
I do. So there would be how many houses sharing the 3 common?
So there would be 12 homes there, but 3 driveways.
And 3 driveways?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you're only developing 25 acres at this time?
That's right. Yes, ma'am.
And then the other 25 acres, you would be, if this was approved, you'd be coming back asking for the same?
No, ma'am. We would come in and do a minor subdivision on the remainder of the property there.
A minor subdivision, would that be adjacent to this, the back of this?
It's not back. It's there's close to 2,000 feet of road frontage on this property.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be an additional going south on Post Road.
Okay, so that would be phase 1, then phase 2. Is this a family compound? Like are these just family homes, like all under the same like family, or would these be different?
They would be on the open market for sale.
They would,
but there is a good chance that we would have some family moving in there too. So, but it would be on the open market.
Okay.
The lots would be.
All right. I'll yield for now. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Anyone else?
Go ahead.
Robinson.
No, go ahead. All right. So I understand the concept of what you're trying to do here. You know, we've spoke about this. And my only other question, I guess my question would be to either Allison or Suleiman, would be, you know, every district is different, and you know, every one of them has their own different feel. But are there any curbs and gutters or sidewalks anywhere up and down Post Road?
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
You're fine, Jeff. I was going to ask our director.
Good morning, Board.
Morning, sir.
Commissioner, I don't believe there's any sidewalk or curb near this development as of right now.
Okay. And this might also be an Allison question. Do we have any other pieces of property in that area that use shared driveways?
So do I know specifically the number of properties that use shared driveways? The
Are you
answer to that
familiar with it?
No. We have some provisions that allow what are called a private estate subdivision. So that's basically a provision whereby 4 lots, 5 acres each, can share a private driveway. Otherwise, under our code, and Suleiman will correct me if I'm wrong, a private road has to be built to county standards. So you would still have the option of doing a private road, but a private road would need to be built to county standards. And to echo a point that Commissioner Robinson had made previously, typically when you're asking for a variance from the code provision, that's something that would normally go through the Planning and Zoning Board, and there's 2 types of variances. One is a special exception variance, and the second is a hardship variance. That is where we first started the conversation with Mr. Camp. He wanted to apply for a special exception variance. However, under Article 13 of our code, there's only about 15 or 16 things that you can grant a special exception variance for, and you cannot grant a special exception variance to the design criteria under our code. So that throws it into a provision for a hardship, potentially. And again, we ran into the same issue with anything pertaining to the right-of-way comes to y'all and not the Planning and Zoning Board. But typically, if you're talking about a hardship, you look at what is something unique to the property, right? So is there an issue with size, shape, topography, things of that nature that are unique to the property that make the literal application of the code untenable in this circumstance? And again, here, we don't have literal application of the code making it untenable to develop the property. What you have is an applicant who just doesn't want to comply with the code provisions because they think it may be expensive and it may not keep with how they want to develop the project. So I would respectfully suggest to the board and to the applicant that that becomes a very dangerous precedent for us to step into if there is no unique situation with the way this property is situated, and what are we possibly opening the door to down the road for a number of these other large acreage tracts who would come before you and say, well, I just don't want to comply with the regulations. And though I understand the concern about, well, is there anything else similar to this around it? And the example that I always kind of bring back to you is think of all of the places now where we have pinch points on public roads that have developed over time and not required these things. You know, would we have just loved it if the folks sitting in our seats a generation ago would have been a little bit more mindful of the additional right-of-way and the sidewalk improvements and things like that that we are now trying to have to go back and retrofit. So I think that that is also part of the conversation for your consideration as you balance what is there now. You're also stewards of what we're handing forward to the next generation in these areas.
Okay, and which I will ask him, but was there a denial of, they do not want to give us the additional right-of-way, correct?
Say that again, I'm sorry.
They do not want to give us the additional right-of-way.
That's our understanding. They're not abiding by the roadway classification, and I believe with minor arterial, we must have 100 feet of right-of-way, and I think they'll be deficient by 5 to 10 feet if I'm not wrong there, but they have refused to comply with that too.
Okay, all right, I'm done. All right, this for Joe.
Just quickly, though, we've not been asked to give up additional right-of-way. We heard about it today for the first time.
Okay.
So that's something we can talk about between now and tomorrow night.
Okay.
Excuse
All
me
right.
for
Okay,
interjecting.
I'm going to go back just for the moment, Chairman.
Mr. Robinson.
That's why I like Allison. You took everything out my mouth. Right. Yeah, this is sort of like, ooh, y'all know what you're asking? It sounds like entitlement decisioning. Like, okay, I don't have to apply. Ooh, I want to do it this way. Ooh. There's a coexistence. Part of the county wants to be dense. They want sidewalks. They shouldn't be marginalized or streets to nowhere. Like, sidewalks, like, you're going to ask us to make that decision, but my district's like, no, we want sidewalks. We should have got it right to begin with. This thing was going to get denser. We can't project future. We couldn't see that coming. I'm talking to us who are founders before us that had these seats. And I'm like, I hear it. That's why I said home, I'm going to let this go. I'm not going to drive home this point. But I'm going to make this voice known. Like, wow, entitlement? That I just don't, I ain't got to do it that way? That I pay taxes like everybody else and I should just, it's how you're saying this, not what you're asking. I get it. I don't hit a hardship, I hit entitlement. The argument wasn't presented, it was like, okay, y'all know we just trying, like, I'm fine. Let rules stay rule. 100. I am for it. You don't want no street lights? Got it. But it's, that's why I didn't want to open this up. I knew this was going to go here. Right? It's that which, they can coexist. But look what you're saying, like, what makes you, that everybody else has to comply, and staff is trying to help, but it was like, you didn't even take the time for it. It's just because I should be able to come through. And y'all need to let this roll through. I can't be complicit in this. I'm going to yield for right now.
Well, I appreciate Allison and the zoning department, but I'm from that area, and I know that there's no sidewalks on Post Road, and I know there's no curb and guttering on Post Road. And I don't see, I in my heart can't vote to have sidewalks and curb and guttering to start with this guy, who I also know. But I know we need rules and regulations, but in my opinion, some of these zoning laws that we have in place, they seem like they're more akin to a communist country than they do a free country in the United States. And I don't mean that in any disrespect to you. Rules are rules, but we have to be reasonable in what we do. And sometimes in zoning, I don't feel like we're reasonable. And I'm new here, but I'm on the Planning and Zoning Committee, and I'm on the Board of Commissioners. And the complaints that I get from the people in this community is the rope and the things that they have to go through in order to get something built in this county. And I'm not saying that we ought to change everything, but I think that we need to be reasonable every time we make a decision. And some of these to put sidewalks and curb and guttering between between 166 and Tyree Road, this really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That's country. That's exactly what that is, and the people out there want it to kind of remain country. And to me, all that would just really look out of place, dear. So that's just my opinion. I don't know what it's worth, but I don't see any need in that.
If I may offer one clarification in case I have confused the issue. What we do have plenty of on Post Road are subdivisions where you have cut in a road and you have put in curb, gutter, and sidewalks, right? So I want to make sure that in presenting this to you, we're not losing sight of the point that for a project of this size to come in at 12 lots, we would require them to cut in a road and do curb, gutter, sidewalks, and all those improvements. So I hear y'all on Post Road itself, I understand what you're saying. But again, one of the provisions that they are not complying with is the willingness to put in a road to serve all of these lots. And we do have that in many of the more rural parts of the county. That is a very typical requirement for anybody coming in and wanting to do a new subdivision, unless Director Rana tells me that is not the case.
Just to echo back on that clause, the UDC clearly says that there should be no direct access to county major roads for any major subdivision. And if we were to allow that, I think that creates an unsafe condition with these new developments, with increased conflict points, the delay that other residents will have to see because of these new developments. I think these clauses somehow balance some of those impacts. So especially in this case, like Allison said, that would be the biggest ticket item, cutting in a road, a decel lane, that makes sure that this development can come in but not be a burden to other thousands of users of Post Road of that area.
So 4 houses per driveway, you feel like that's too much? I'm just asking.
That too is a question of its own. The way that they've shown driveways would violate another roadway frontage clause. So by UDC, you must have 50 foot of roadway frontage and then be able to have a driveway. In this case, they're not meeting that, and they're cramming a few parcels together for it to be able to work through the 3 driveways that they're showing. So it's quite a few different clauses that, kind of come in together to paint the picture that they'll only have 3 driveways, but then again, we'll be violating quite a few clauses of the UDC. Not violating, but as staff, it's our job to implement those, but as board, you can definitely decide either way.
Okay. Anyone else? Vice Chair.
Question, along Post Road, what is the traffic count? Have we done a traffic count on Post Road?
I don't have an accurate one, but we can check. A road of that size, I would say it's definitely in few thousands.
Got you. And the subdivisions or those entities that are off Post Road, the ones that we're talking about, they have put in a decel in order to get to those properties that are off there.
Yes, I believe so. That would be, I will defer that to Allison because I don't have that historical background, but that would be my understanding. And I think that plays a critical role in making sure that a new development is not a burden on the existing users.
The existing infrastructure, correct. And one of the reasons why I asked, was this a familial track? Like, were there only families on here? Is because to share a driveway with 3 other neighbors that I don't know in particular, that would be very intimate and quite different. just trying to make it work. I could see if it was just 4 homes or 3 homes, but we're talking about 12 with an additional another phase that'll come later. So I'm inclined to think that if we have new coming on board, we definitely need to stick to this is what a new subdivision needs to do, because this is just not for now, it's for the future. And if we don't plan for now, for the future, where we see some of kind of what we've gotten in other places, we have to be mindful that, you know, we want people to preserve their way of life, but also we know it's just not for them, it's for those who are to come. So we do have those rules and regulations and zoning in place. We need to stick to that as much as possible. Again, if this was just for a couple of houses, maybe, but we're talking about 12 houses and more to come. So this one is, yeah, I yield.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yes, I'd like to speak again on a few accounts that's been brought up. So the lady that was in here earlier was the very first lady to speak, had public comment. And one of the things that she spoke about was affordability as far as new developments. And that's what I'm trying to bring something in that could be affordable. To my knowledge, and maybe this gentleman could answer this, I don't know that there's been any 1 acre lot subdivisions developed in the county since the downturn of 07, 08 that's for sale. And I'm just trying to put, bring something in the community that's affordable, and there's so much regulation, and as Commissioner, the chairman had mentioned, there's so much regulation out there that it's very difficult to bring anything in this county. You guys may not know this, but developed lot prices right now for townhome lots, what is $75,000 for a townhome lot? So again, I think the county needs this even in this rural area. And this is something that could keep, some affordability down there. If we put in curb and gutter and cut a street in, we're going to be at lot prices well over 100,000, and I don't know how many people that can afford that down in that area. So thank you again.
All right, thank you. Mr. Robinson.
Yeah, no, real quick, to that, thank you for smoothing that out. No, affordability is important, yes, back to 07, 08. Yeah, remember, we had all that blight. Remember that? In pipe cities. Recall it was the Board of Commissioners that recognized back in, 17, says, you know what, let's help out these small builders. Like, I remember me and Commissioner Mulcair, we worked together. We know how to work well together. Like, okay, let's see what we can do for these small developers. Because y'all couldn't eat. Like, okay, but you had all these pipes, and we had the new standard that came in 08, since we didn't have no money. Foreclosures, what do we do, staff? We upgraded the standard. Now you got all these pipes and stuff that need to be retrofit. I'm talking about history, no facts, since you asked. Right, and so we were sensitive to the fact that, like, okay, we're gonna help y'all out. We took money out the general fund, went and retrofitted, worked with WSA, cut a deal. What was it, 9 subdivisions. I got 8 of them was in mine, and then 1 was, I think, in District 1 that we retrofitted. Right, we allowed you to go in and buy these lots. Right, cheap, pennies on the dollar, you got them, because you couldn't maintain the standard. Like, okay, this new standard, that took away my margin, I just bought this at cheap. Okay, so what you want me to do? Job ain't supposed to help the whole industry, but I got it. It was a one time we did it. It was for the greater good. To your point, nobody wants to blight in their subdivisions and stuff. They're nice $300,000-$400,000 houses. We get it. We did what was right. But it was a one time. Like, okay, we don't want to create this precedent, right? Just for hardship's sake, we get the whole system crumbles. So we all, just like with COVID, you got to come together. But when we do these spot decisions and stuff, like, okay, that doesn't reflect the whole. But duly noted. I understand. I just had to get some history on that. Like, no, we know what we've done and what we're capable of doing as a board. but it has to be the right decision. So I just want to do that, Mr. Chair. I yield. Keep
Thank you,
moving.
sir. Well, last comment that I have is that I'm from that district originally. I grew up down there. And it's Mr. Alcaraz's district that he represents. And I think we ought to have some consideration for what his thoughts are and what the people of that community's thoughts are. Because they are different in different parts of the county. What we should allow and what we shouldn't allow. That's going to remain country. It's been country ever since Douglasville or Douglas County has been developed. We're having Founders Day tomorrow, so it probably looked a lot like it did in 1870. But it will be the last place in this community to grow, and I don't see not just him, but I don't see when we have subdivisions out in the country. Somebody just built 20 houses below my house, and it's in a subdivision, and this is new, and it don't have sidewalks. So I don't understand, how we can do that. I know we have to, at some point in time, come up with a plan that works for everybody. And if we're going to require sidewalks, then I don't know how these other people got out of it. And I wouldn't want a sidewalk on Post Road, to be honest with you. Just change the look of it. Do what? I know what they're asking. I used sidewalk as an example, but they're asking for 3 driveways, and I'm sure they're wider than what a regular driveway would be, but I don't know that. I'm assuming that. They're asking for 3 driveways, and they've 4 homes in a kind of a cul-de-sac deal where people would come off of those driveways into those areas and drive out. If there's an area that would accommodate it in this county, that area would. So, I'm sorry. I guess you need to. You're good. Okay, Mr. Dobbs.
I just have. Is there a way that you traffic driveways, how they were connected?
So I can work on something on that, yes, sir. I can have it for the meeting tomorrow evening. And
kind of pain. I'm looking at it kind of hard. I was like, how can you houses, lots wood?
yes, sir, I can do that. That's not a problem.
Okay. Anyone else? Next.
Number 15, approval of a certificate of preliminary plat for Walters Creek subdivision. Allison Duncan.
All right, good morning again. Let me pull up my second slide deck of the day. All right, the item that you have before you is approval of a preliminary plat. This is for Walters Creek subdivision. This was on the agenda at the last meeting. We needed to bring it back again because we were not clear as to the board's direction on this. Let me advance so you can see. This is coming in under its base zoning, residential low density. Total acreage is 23.32 acres. They will only be disturbing 18.10 acres. There's a low-lying wet area in the back that will remain undisturbed. This is 41 total lots. These are single-family detached homes. So this is representing a density of 1.8 units per acre. The allowable density is 2.29 units per acre. Minimum lot size will be 15,000 square feet, and the minimum house will be 1,800 square feet. So again, this is a preliminary plat approval, and as we stated previously, the staff is bringing this to you with a recommendation of approval for this preliminary plat. And I'm happy to take any questions that you may have about this design at this time.
Any comment? Question? I think we're good. I'm sorry, Vice Chair.
Question. This is in which district?
This is in District 4, directly on the boundary between District 4 and District 3. So District 3 is going to be across the street, but this is in District 4.
And this is a brand-new subdivision, so that means they would decel lanes to go into, to turn into the subdivision, everything that needs to be done.
Correct. To the conversation we had previously, they are cutting in that road. They are doing all of the required right-of-way improvements. They are doing sidewalks, curb, and gutter on this project, as well as all of the required improvements to the existing right-of-way.
Got you. I know in the past, this home builder in my district has had a lot of people to have hiccups with the way they've built, with the way they've not come back and actually followed up within the 12-month time period. A lot of people upset, and some of these were $500,000 homes that Curly development built.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, in good conscience and good faith, knowing some of the horror stories that I got emails on, I could not in good faith support this.
Mm-hmm.
But that is not my district. That is
Mm-hmm.
District 4. So I would yield to what he stated. I
Mm-hmm.
am in favor of them doing the right thing, which is, the preliminary. But, the quality of homes, if you're going to come back within the time frame that, once people move in, if they see defects or they get their inspector to come out and there's something that has, happened, we got to make sure that these builders understand you cannot come into Douglas County and build subpar housing, because it does not work. Our constituents deserve better. And if they're paying their money and you're going to do a subdivision, it needs to be done right. And so that was my issue, and I still stick by that. But thank you for bringing it back. I yield.
All right, anyone else? Commissioner Robinson.
I ditto those comments. I've had the same experience in my district. And all right, so I'm gonna get down to, so what happens, like with any contractor, let's use a park, Boundary Waters, and the football field didn't work out, and the contractor did whatever. We're able to yank them back, like, look, tighten this up. Right, we have bonds, we have all those things. Like, no, we're not playing with you now. Fix this. But then you have developers, big developers come in here, and they moving on the average citizen. Now, you can't move on government like you can move on citizens. And they're looking for us to advocate on their behalf. And, you play the game. You play the administrative game. You string things out. You let the statute of limitations run out because y'all been arguing and sending back. I didn't get the email. We didn't do this. They don't have the funds. They can't even help fight their own HOA fees, let alone the developer who came in here, made his money, he bounced. And that was the point of putting a standard out here in Douglas County. Don't let them pimp us. And I'm going to hold us to that. Like, really? Do better. Right. We deserve better. Now, I'm speaking, I don't care what district, where you are, what your thinking is. We're talking about that type. Like, no. You don't just come over here and exploit and not leave us a quality product. There is still a standard. Yes, things can be, they don't have to be expensive. They can be less expensive. But it doesn't have to be cheap. It doesn't have to be inferior. Right? And so we measure this by, look, we get to evaluate. I got to represent my citizen's voice. They're like, okay, so my experience, and Allison, you know it, you've chronicled it. So here we are again. Now, what now? So what do we do when they're not in compliance, Allison, along the way? When do we have inspections? James, you were involved in all these conversations. Oh, my list is long. So what do we do when we're going through the process, that 12 months that we got to go back? They have their own internal checkpoints, but what type of checkpoints does the government have by way that they did what they're supposed to do? Talk to me.
So currently, right now, what you're looking at is the plat, okay? So that's kind of the thing that's going to allow them to grade the land, cut in the roads, and sell the individual lots. If the concern is primarily with the entity that is doing that, with the builder, we can certainly work with our building department to see where there may be possibilities to hold them to higher standards. Right now, we enforce basically the state minimum building codes, for the most part. We don't have any local amendments to the building code, and so that's where we're looking at a number of the a number of the things relating to just how the house is constructed. I am familiar with the complaints that we've had about certain things that have more to do with sort of the aesthetics and some of the zoning criteria. We have been involved in areas where we've had to put stop work orders on projects and go out there and kind of get it straightened out, where they've tried to maybe build the facade, that was a condition of zoning, too close to another facade and things like that. So I would say that my best answer I can give you today is there is a longer conversation about how we can hold the building, the building of the units to a higher standard. We would need to understand if your concern is primarily with just kind of what I would call the minimum, so the structural, the mechanical, all of those kinds of things, the grading, the landscaping. That's where we have some control now in our code. When it comes to certain higher order aesthetic improvements, our code would need to be improved if we wanted to address that process, because right now our minimum residential requirements are pretty much in line with the state standards, unless somehow they fall within an overlay district.
No, let that go. I got it. I'm talking about you come in and you cut buildings and houses on the side of hills. We're talking about flooding. Now, let's be clear. And it comes down. Remember, I'm out there, I'm watching this, and I'm watching citizens like, okay, this is what you did? And this is the type of wall? And the county allowed this? I'm like, dang, y'all ain't looking at this? I'm watching it cascade down. Like, this how y'all let them develop? No, we busy. Y'all know I ain't taking this personal. I'm making a point.
Understood.
Like, oh, really? That's how we roll. And it's the insensitivity of responding back to the citizens when they have a legitimate complaint, and you play this bond game. And I got it. Like, look, I'm hurt by the citizens. Oh, I'll get in it. So no, we like to hold people accountable. That means everybody. Everybody. And I mean, again, these people, these are the American dreams. They're in there, they're buying their homes, and they're frustrated, and they're just looking for some reasonable, sometimes it's just communication. Talk to us. But again, I understand buyer beware. I understand free market, but citizens still look to us as government, like, don't let people come in here and take advantage of us. I mean, I don't want to get into the communists and all that conversation, because that's another day. I could do that all day long. But no. This is freedom. Freedom of fear, right? Freedom of all that, right? Freedom of want. Like, okay, is my government going to create an atmosphere that I can pursue my own happiness, right? Are we going to let these guys, again, corporate America, come in here and do what they do? Now, again, I'm not a little small guy. They get to make their money. That's cool, but at what expense? So our job is just to keep them honest. Now, we get it. Citizens, buyers, y'all bought it. That's a contract. I get the difference. But we do get to set the rules. Our job is to put regulation in place. Don't be convenient when we want to apply regulation and not put regulation. But again, it depends on who it is. I get it. We'll see how this play out tomorrow. I got to yield. Thank you.
Anyone else? We're good.
Thank you.
Next, dear.
Number 16, approval of an MOU with the City of Douglasville for holiday signal timing and monitoring around the Arbor Place Mall area during the 2023 holiday season at a cost of $5,880 to be funded from the DOT department budget, with $2,940 to be reimbursed by the City of Douglasville as recommended by the Transportation Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Solomon Rana.
Thank you. Good morning again, board. This item deals with the holiday signal timing, mostly in the city. This addresses 18 intersections that are mainly in need of catering for added retail traffic during the holiday season, starting from the week of Thanksgiving all the way to end of the year. This is our yearly effort that we do in coordination with the city. They foot half of the bill. In this case, this is roughly $6,000 worth of cost, and that is why we're recommending the board to approve this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments? We're good. Thank you, sir. Next.
Number 17, authorization to award on-demand signing material contracts to MD Solutions and Vulcan Inc. pursuant to RFP 23-023 as recommended by the Transportation Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Solomon.
Thank you. This is in connection with LMIG SAP grant that we applied for just before summer of this year. As the state was close to end of their fiscal year, we were notified of a funding opportunity, and we applied for that grant within 3 days. We were lucky to get that grant in the amount of $235,000 with a 30% match. That roughly puts us at $70,000 worth of a match. We're using this money to repair and install signage across the county. When we applied for this grant, we had a list of 21 roads that we will be addressing. This grant alone will help us address at least 1,700 signs across the county. And the way we will devise this work plan is we'll source the material and perform the work in-house so we can maximize or stretch these dollars. In an effort to do so, we advertised an ITB 23-23. We got responses from 6 qualified vendors, and 2 of the most cost-effective vendors and responsive vendors were MD Solutions and Vulcan. And we're recommending that board approves these on-demand contracts with these suppliers that will supply our signing materials so our staff can install those. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? Vice Chair?
Thank you. So, Director Rana, if the board so chooses to approve MD Solutions and Vulcan Inc., they would be the ones to help install and replace all of the signage?
Yes, they'll supply the material. We'll install those in-house.
We're installing,
Yes.
but they're supplying the materials.
Yes, they will be our on-demand supplier.
Okay. And they will do that for the remainder of the ones that you listed out in the list that you gave us?
Right.
Okay. And how many vendors replied to this RFP?
I believe 7 did.
7. Okay. And these were the 2 lowest bidders.
Let me take that back. Did I say 7? 7 applied, and these were the 2 of the lowest vendors.
And these were 2 of the lowest vendors.
Yes.
Okay. So you just took the 2 lowest vendors and you will split it between them for the supplies and materials.
Right, and it gets tricky because there are various components involved. So one would be cheaper on one, let's say the post, the other would be cheaper on the rectangular sheet that we need to write on. So what we did was we analyzed a few combination of our needs, and these 2 were the lowest on those assumptions. Now, as we proceed with our work plan for the next 12 months, we'll evaluate between these 2 which one comes out to be the cheaper for each work order, and then go with the lowest price.
Okay. Understood. Thank you. With that, Chairman, I yield.
Anyone else? Thank you, sir. Next.
Number 18, authorization to accept 0.069 acres of right-of-way dedication on West County Line Road from 3720 West County Line Holding LLC with no impact to the budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Solomon?
Thank you. This is a development project that went through our DRC review. In the review, it was concluded that per the roadway classification, they were deficient in the required right-of-way. And in an effort to bring them in compliance, they are donating 0.069 acres of right-of-way. And we're recommending the board to accept this donation. Thank you.
Any comments, questions?
Okay. Number 19, authorization to request approval for the use of a traffic signal from Georgia Department of Transportation in connection with the Post Road at I-20 Interchange Improvement Project at no cost to the county, as recommended by the Transportation Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Solomon.
Thank you. This interchange project started earlier this year, where we were tasked with improving the operations and the infrastructure at this interchange. Part of the problems were congestion, safety, and the ramps and the shoulders that were deteriorating over time and had big potholes that need immediate repairs. We initiated this project to be handled in 3 different phases. The first one is ramps repairs, second is installation of traffic signal, and the third phase would be addition of right turn lane, which would be the last phase. So while we're working on ramps repair with Georgia Department of Transportation, we're initiating our efforts on phase 2, which is installation of a traffic signal for eastbound approach. And for us to do so, we have to request a permit from Georgia Department of Transportation, and we're requesting that the board request this on our behalf. Thank you.
Questions? Commissioner Alcaraz?
Just curious, upon this approval, what is the timeframe you expect to begin this or start this project?
So this approval, after it goes out of Douglas County, takes about a month to get approval from Georgia Department of Transportation. Once everything's been signed off, there's currently a 6-month wait time on mast arms and traffic signal equipment. As soon as we get those, we stand ready to install them within the next 2 weeks of delivery.
Okay, so just right at the beginning of the year.
It would, with the delivery time frame, I think it's going to take us more towards March time frame for the signal.
Okay, I yield back, Chairman.
Anyone else? Vice Chair?
So why are we doing this project?
So this is a SPLOST 2016 project in which we undertook 4 intersections, and the goal was to improve congestion and safety. These were also pointed out in our comprehensive transportation plan as needed improvements. So that's why this was undertaken, and this is just part of a bigger project that we're delivering.
So again, this is for safety and congestion. And this is what area again?
Post Road at I-20.
Okay, I yield, Chairman.
Thank you. Next.
Number 20, ratification of the chairman's signature on a contract executed with express approval from the BOC for Preserve 5 LLC for fill dirt related to a change order with respect to the rock that was encountered at Punkintown Park at no cost to the county. Mr. Gary Dukes.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone. We're just requesting that the board ratify the chairman's signature on the contract between Preserve 5 and Board of Commissioners to supply the dirt for the development, continued development of Punkintown Park.
Comments? Question? Vice Chair?
I would like to comment and just thank Preserve 5 LLC for the fill dirt going to Punkintown. They could have said no, but I'm so glad that they said yes, and took the time to donate to, I think, what is a really great cause, the Punkintown Park, for the community. So just wanted to say that, and kudos to you all for, I got some of the pictures that are coming from there, and I know citizens will be very pleased once this is completed. Thank you.
Yeah, they've been very easy to work with.
Anyone else? Thank you. Next.
Number 21, ratification of the chairman's signature executed with express approval of the BOC to grant an easement for Georgia Power to install power in relation to the previously approved relocation of Shina Camp. Attorney Coleman.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I will speak to this in Mr. Worthington's absence today. This item, is, along with the previous item, one of the 2 items that I sent an email about a week or so ago to the board explaining it. They've been signed. This item pertains to easement to Georgia Power so that they can enter the site of the relocated homeless facility to install power. It is a standard easement they require in order to go onto the property for purposes, installing the lines, carrying the lines, and servicing the lines is limited to that. And Georgia Power generally requires for the installation of power.
Okay. Questions, comments? Vice Chair?
Attorney Coleman, is there a cost related to this, and how much easement?
There's no cost related.
Okay.
We are giving them the easement, but it's not a gratuity because it's for the benefit, allowing the installation of power. That is a public benefit.
Thank you. I need you to say that. With that, I yield.
Anyone else? Next.
Number 22, authorization to approve Centus Standard Rental Service Agreement for landfill and DOT maintenance and construction according to the attached fee schedule to be funded through the landfill's budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Solomon.
Thank you. This is a public works request, and Director Carver had to be out due to urgent matter at landfill transfer station. But this is our yearly effort to procure uniforms for our staff, including DOT and landfill staff. And this is done through a Sourcewell contract with Cintas, and this is our 3rd year with this vendor. And we're very happy with the service and requesting the board to allow us another year with this vendor. Thank you.
Questions, comments? We're good. Thank you, ma'am. Next.
That is all of the agenda items. The next we have is approval of expenses for tomorrow.
Okay. Approval of expenses. Approval of Vice Chair Carthen's $25.60. I think we'll approve that, okay? Commissioner comments? Hold just 1 second. I'm sorry, he was.
Excuse me,
on the other
Mr. Chair,
comment.
Commissioners. I believe we've got some update on. I can refer to item number, cameras.
Okay.
Could ask it. Oh,
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chief Deputy Connor and I, we did speak. And when reviewing the sheriff's budget, Chief Deputy Connor is correct. He's trending over budget. However, there's items in there, if the board is aware that we're removing grant expenditures and putting them in a separate fund. So Chief Deputy Connor does not have the resource that finance has that we can actually separate those grants. So we can identify that he is not trending over budget, and he does have enough funding for the match, the 50% match of $97,000. However, we're going to sit down with Chief Deputy Connor, and we're going to show him, once we take out the grants, that he will have money for the $97,000 for the match. And he has agreed to allow this to occur. And if the board would approve the item and with the match being out of the sheriff's budget. However, if we sit down and we discover that this is not correct, then I will come back before the board and ask for the $97,000 to be in fund balance. However, I am confident and sure that the sheriff does have enough to fund this match.
Okay, thank you. You good with that, Chief?
I am. From a departmental level, what I see, as she stated, is we're trending over budget. But she assures me from a more grander view of the county's finances that she feels the money will be there, and I put my faith in her finance department.
Yeah. If it's not, we'll fix it, okay? Any comments? Mr. Alcaraz?
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off of what the chairman and Commissioner Robinson said. I mean, this is equipment. It's essential. This is cameras. This is for not only their protection, but our protection from lawsuits. So, yeah, one way or another, we'll find it. I yield.
Anyone else? Now, Commissioner comments. Mr. Robinson.
Oh, thank you. No, to that point, so we have a finance committee today, and I know we're about to go into the budget cycle, so just for the record, based on the prior schedule, I thought at some point we were going to see the budget, and we're supposed to be approving it on the 13th and 14th of November. That means 2 meetings after this. Our policy says that it must come before the finance committee before it gets to the full board of commissioners. Again, regulatory and policy. I want to know if it ain't going to be on this meeting, when is it going to be on the next meeting? And we have a schedule of the legal organ. Can somebody speak to where we are with the budget? Someone.
There's 2 items. One is, to my understanding, about the finance committee approving the budget. I know, and I will submit an email to the board today regarding, and I might have already done it, regarding the revenue that would be established, and of course, what the revenue is would be your actual budget. but the finance committee actually approving the budget, that I'm not aware of, but I will look into that. The second is that we did have to change our schedule some. I may need some help from Lisa with the proposed calendar, budget calendar.
Now, the administration can't operate outside of our committees. It's in the code. With the reoccurring revenue and reoccurring expenses, it was passed at the same time. I'm gonna come back to, you gotta talk to us. And again, we're just we're here to help give oversight, but we can't avoid talking to, like, where are y'all? We get it, but you gotta communicate. I shouldn't have to ask. Y'all should be telling us, like, look, this is where we're at, this is where we're going. You know, it's like, oh man, y'all making this difficult. It's like, I'm just trying to participate, trying to do my job like everybody else. But I'm like, okay, we're on a timeline here. We do have to be transparent, right? It can't be say this in public and then go offline and do whatever you want to do. Like, no, this is probably not going to play out right. It's got to be inclusive. It has to be participative. That's the whole point of the committee structure. We wrote that in there for a reason. It's like, we just going to dismiss it. No, you got to come back to what I just said. The policy says you got to run it by committee. There's no administrative override of that policy. There's no, I don't have to do it that way. I'm driving home like, y'all, ooh, what are y'all doing then? Because like, ooh, I'm just making my point. You're good, Ross. You know you're good. I speak how I speak, and you're at peace. But we'll talk about this during our finance committee today. Second thing, I'm gonna let it go. Thank you, Rosin. Second point is now we're gonna get on legislation. There was some legislation that the board, our annual process that we've agreed to adopt, that we'll bring forth various legislative pieces. I know the vice chair, I was working on some, Commissioner Alcaraz, and I'm not sure if Commissioner Dobbs is working on some as well. But I guess at some point we're going to have to align that as well. County Attorney, you're good on that? I guess we got a couple of meetings, right? A couple more meetings to get this legislation done?
Well, technically, the legislation could be introduced by board members at any time. There's a specific time frame that do so. It could be introduced at any time, so I don't think we have.
All right, that's all I wanted to hear. Look, we try to keep it all together, just like with the General Assembly, just like with Congress. It's legislative time. Let's get in here, do the work, get it out the way. So, no, you got me. Thank you, and I'll yield for now. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Anyone else? No more comments? All right. Do we need to go into executive session, Mr. Coleman?
Mr. Chairman, there are no items for executive session today.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?